Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Partalidou. I'm an associate professor at Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, the School of Agriculture. And on behalf of my colleague Thanasis Tsikliras, we're going to present you some preliminary work we're doing in our research group Mare Nostrum, which is an interdisciplinary group with three departments of our university. As you can see from the title, we're going to focus on fishing or pesca tourism in Greece as a management tool. In Greece, the newly established legislation on pesca tourism is a real management decision that promotes fisheries sustainability, aiming to reduce the fishing pressure on the stocks, while at the same time enhancing the income of coastal fishers and their families by giving added value to alternative forms of tourism that are locally based. Therefore, based on a bottom-up governance approach and networking with fishing communities, such policies, in combination, of course, with strict control of illegal, let's say, unprofessional and recreational fishing, might achieve the double goal that we are aiming for. After decades of mismanagement, I might say, that failed to halt overfishing of marine biological resources, pesca tourism or fishing tourism is currently at the forefront of the public and academic debate, achieving, let's say, a systemic approach to marine and fisheries management. I'm not going to focus so much on the challenges that we are facing currently in Mare Nostrum in the Mediterranean area, Mediterranean Sea. Of course, we're talking about the climate crisis. Everybody talks about the climate crisis. And of course, we have like a huge discussion on energy poverty that influences the production cost. Of course, while the climate crisis influences the biodiversity. We also have some challenges that relate to, let's say, social factors, such as aging of the fishing population, the fishing community's population, and of course, something that we call in rural sociology food literacy or illiteracy, which has to do with the fact that people nowadays, especially people living in urban areas, have no contact with nature, have no knowledge where their food comes from. We have like a huge distance that fish and our food overall travels before it reaches our plate, which creates kind of distance between consumers, producers and consumers. So in my presentation, I will shortly try to answer three major questions. Why we see pesca tourism, fishing tourism as a solution, as a management tool? How can this tool be used? With what, let's say, tools and with what actions and activities at the local level, and what needs to be done in the future. Okay, so let's start with why. Why fishing tourism can serve as a management tool? Because it seems to achieve not only an inclusive rural development and economic growth, but has several other aspects linked to our food system transformation. And of course, it contributes to the blue economy that we, again, nowadays talk a lot about. I will not go into details on the different environmental, economic, and social aspects and impacts that fishing tourism has, but let me only pick up one out of each category. On the environmental aspect, the introduction of fishing tourism focuses on the reduction of fishing pressure in order to maintain and rebuild the fish stocks. Okay, while at the same time, on the economic scale, it tries to compensate the income that fishers lose by not fishing that much. Okay, but as a side effect, there is an intergenerational continuation of the profession. This can be also ensured with with introduction of fishing tourism. Tradition, cultural heritage, boats that have a cultural value can also be maintained. And of course, there's a gender aspect in this activity, because especially for women and young people in rural areas, getting to be involved in a different professions such as services and tourism will have a positively affect and social well-being, let's say, and somehow strengthen their role in fisheries communities. So we can argue that also social sustainability is promoted with fishing tourism. But how can this be done? This is more a practical suggestion that we have because in Greece lately there has been a big networking project with the Greek fisheries, what we call local action groups, working under the development initiative CLLD, funded by the EU. They have developed a project on pesca tourism, which is, let's say, somehow parallel to what has been done in the country all these years with agrotourism and rural tourism. So what they did with this project, I can share the website later on. They tried to raise awareness to fishing communities by providing information on the national framework, the legislative framework that I have been describing earlier, and all the funding opportunities for fishers to implement pesca tourism. This project actually explored the implementation of pesca tourism in Greece by lobbying. Okay, trying to bring together all the fishing community, all the stakeholders. So it also offered training and networking opportunities for men and women working in fishing. Small videos were created to communicate to tourists and the general public some routes that were created, routes that can be traveled by tourists. Okay, and during these on-boat tours, sustainability was also promoted by training the tourists about the Mediterranean foodscape, about how to know and get acquainted with the different types of fish, and not just the mainstream and the most well-known that are under a distinction, let's say. So tourists were educated on how to have access to fresh, safe and quality food, while at the same time achieving sustainability in our seas overall in Mediterranean. Not only this project that I have described, but other actions that are currently implemented in our country, in Greece, what they are trying to establish for the future is to actually communicate the idea. We are at in tourism, we sometimes like to discuss curves and how tourism is developed. We are currently at the very first step. So fishing community, women and men, are quite reluctant towards change. Okay, they have limited trust to their capacity and the skills needed to accommodate and interact with tourists. Therefore, what is needed from all the research we have done and all the work on the ground is tailor-made capacity building. It is necessary, especially in the form of peer-to-peer learning. As we know with farmers, the same holds true with fishing communities too. There's no point in putting fishermen, women and men into a classroom discussing about how can they accommodate tourists. Getting to know what other fishing communities are doing all over Europe, and getting fishermen together to discuss problems and discuss ideas is always the best solution to achieve this capacity building. To make a long story short, what we came up after the research we've done with fishing communities, that empowerment and development of soft skills can work for the future, and of course mentoring by experts in special areas, and inviting the press, inviting chefs on board, discuss with them the problems, discuss with them the challenges that the Mediterranean Sea is facing, communicating what are the benefits of fishing your own food, what are the issues that we need to take care of with the fish stocks. All this can be used towards developing a sustainable fishing tourism in the area. And of course, because everything depends on storytelling, we know that in tourism, the power of storytelling is the most important. We need to create stories. We need to recreate our history, our tradition in the Mediterranean Sea. And I think in our research group, we are at the beginning of delving into the fishing communities and this aspect of fishing tourism in Greece. We are very proud in Marinomics. I mean, I think I can talk on behalf also of Thanasis Tsikliras and all the other colleagues in the research group that we're very happy and pleased to celebrate with all of you the 20 years of Aristotle University in FishBase.